I don't know about you guys, but as a young teen and even later into my teen years, I would look up on YouTube all the time how to be more confident. I so desperately wanted to be confident, to embody this aura of assurance of myself and my abilities, but I was really not that confident of a guy. I wasn't particularly good at anything. I mean, I was just kind of average at a lot of different things. And it wasn't until I met my now wife that I understood that, man, I'm a lot less confident than I thought I was because she is so confident. And so I had to take a long look in the mirror and realize, okay, I need confidence in order to do the things that I know God has called me to do. And yet at the same time, I don't want to get lost in pride. That's not the place I want to be. But I also don't want to be in self-pity or self-loathing or this false humility. I think in my teen years I was caught up in that false humility for a long time, tearing myself down in front of other people. Oh, I suck at this, I suck at that. But it wasn't because I had humility. It was just because it was a way to get attention still. See, it was a weird kind of reverse pride where it was still a way to get attention. In my mind, what our goal should be, and this is what this video is about, is how you can be a confident man. And our confidence is a secure confidence that's not boastful, but it's humble. And so I'm going to share with you how you can do that and how I've learned to do that myself. This isn't coming from somebody that's been confident their whole life, but it's somebody that is growing currently in confidence. So I want to share this with you. The first thing is you need to eliminate instant gratification. I didn't realize that how big of a deal this truly was until I thought of a child. Okay, stay with me here. You think of a child, and if you spend any time with a child, you come to realize that their mind is a lot of different places very quickly. They're kind of ADHD in a way. They're thinking about, okay, I want to do this, or I want to do this, or can I do this, or can I do this? Maybe they're asking a whole bunch of questions all at once, but their mind is kind of scattered. I think of a child that says, hey, can I have this cookie? And you say, no, you can't have this cookie. And then they look elsewhere and they say, oh, can I have this brownie? You say, no, can't have the brownie. Oh, can I have this piece of cake? No, can't have the piece of cake yet. Okay, cool. Can I watch TV? And they're constantly looking for this outlet of gratification. They're looking for these things that they know they're going to enjoy. So they're going to ask you as many questions as possible in order to kind of wear you down. And finally, you're going to say, okay, well, you can have half a cookie, or you can watch TV for a little bit, or you can be on the iPad for a little bit. And this is what happens, right? Because children are interested in right now. Children are interested in right now, what they can get right now. They have no vision for the future. That's not part of being a child. They just know about what's here and what's now and what they want. Well, what happens when you, as an adult man, begins to act that way? When you only act out of what you can get now? Well, you're basically teaching yourself that you're a child. Okay, wait a minute. That makes a lot of sense, because if you're teaching yourself that you're a child, then obviously you don't have confidence. Obviously you don't have any, belief in yourself that you can put away these desires right now in order to pursue something better later on. In fact, you're not just a child. When we do these things, when we give in to these base kind of desires, we're actually a slave. We're teaching ourselves that we're a slave to these desires. So whatever it is, maybe it's your desire to eat whatever you want. You're eating a lot of junk food, or not working out, or watching pornography, or taking part in just sexual release because you say, oh, I need it and it feels good right now. Well, wait a minute. Are you a slave to these things? Are you a child? Can you not put these things off because you know in the long run it'll be better? Because that's what's going to build your confidence. It's to say no to these things continually and constantly, to say, no, I don't want this. I don't need this. I'm going to push this away for now because I know what is later on is going to be better. So I can focus on the things that I need to do now that are going to develop me and build me up. That's going to develop confidence. Think about for a second, if you were to spend a day and you gave in to every one of your instant urges, right? Okay, so you're watching pornography, you're eating a whole bunch of junk food, you're lazy, you're not going to work. How are you going to feel at the end of that day? Maybe you've had a day like that. How are you going to feel at the end of that day? You are going to feel like absolute crap. And it makes sense. You're going to feel terrible about yourself. I'm no good. I'm a loser. And now you understand why our generation is in such a desperate and just disastrous place. I was trying to put this together in my mind and I wrote it down here. Waiting plus work equals greater satisfaction and confidence, because you're teaching yourself that you're not a slave. So waiting and work the two W's, waiting and work. So pushing off those instant gratifications, saying I can wait for those things, and working are going to produce satisfaction and confidence. Proverbs 16:3, it says, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. Proverbs 12:27 says, whoever is slothful will not roast his game, but the diligent man will get precious wealth. And this leads us right into our second philosophy is you need to attempt something difficult in order to build confidence. If you're continually only allowing yourself to do the base minimum of what the world has to offer, of the work that you could do, you're not developing any confidence whatsoever. In order to go above and beyond, in order to try to achieve something difficult or do something difficult, you need to be willing to fail and to be rejected. Now, the trouble is for a lot of us guys, we have these wounds in rejection and failure from our childhood. Maybe it was your father that, didn't build you up and you felt, rejected, or you felt like a failure, or people in your life, maybe you were bullied. And now this idea of trying to put yourself out there, to actually trying to do something, that's a scary thought, because last time you did that, you either failed or rejected, and that hurts so deeply, and it's kind of triggering in a way. So you settle for the base minimum. Now, as a teen, like I said, I wasn't very confident. I did have people in my life that would build me up, but I was scared of rejection and I was scared of failure. When I started my first YouTube channel, Daily Disciple, which is still going strong to this day, when I started that, I was completely humbled from the beginning, because I was getting like 10 views and 5 views and 3 views, and I'd put all my effort in making this content that I knew God wanted me to make, and proclaiming his gospel and trying to help people follow Jesus daily. But at the same time, I was just being humbled. And when people would say, oh, Isaac, you have a YouTube channel, don't you? I would be embarrassed about it a little bit, because I knew, you'd go to the channel and you see like 10 subscribers and you're thinking, oh man, I'm such a loser. But here's my belief. You must be humbled first before you can embrace true confidence. You must be humbled first before you can embrace true confidence. Many don't want that though. And the reason being is you need to go through that rejection and failure and that tough patch in order to teach yourself basically that, hey, you're not the end all be all here. You need God. You truly do. And so it humbles you in a good way. And when you do end up finding success or some achievement of some kind, hey, like this took significant work, and it also took God's grace in my life, and I need to keep that in perspective. If you succeed right away at everything, if you do everything perfectly, if you never encounter rejection or failure, then not only are you going to be more likely to be prideful and boastful, but you're also not going to be as strong when maybe down the line failure and rejection does hit, because you've lulled yourself into this false sense of security. Now, some of us just choose easy things. We don't want to choose those hard things that maybe we know like in the back of our mind that we'd like to do, but we're scared of rejection and failure and what might come from that. So we kind of lie to ourselves, or we try to lie saying, yeah, no, this is all, life is cracked up to be, and this is all I can handle. And, this is enough for me. But in the back of our mind, we know there's that next level that we could get to if we just put ourselves out there. Know this, you can't lie to yourself. Like, you're always going to have that voice in the back of your mind saying, you settled, Isaac, you settled. And you don't want to be the one to settle. If you truly want to build confidence, then settling for the bare minimum is not what you should be doing. Think about this. You are creating a narrative about your life. You are creating a narrative about your life. Your life is a story. If I'm embracing my life as a story, I don't need to be scared of those things, of those hiccups along the way. In fact, what I need to be scared of is a boring story. Is a story where the main character says, you know what, I'm not even going to show up today. I'm just going to, settle for immediate gratification, and I'm not going to put myself out there. And I know I have these dreams and desires in my heart, or things that I know God has called me to do, but I'm not going to do any of them because they're too hard, and I'm scared of rejection, and I'm going to let the wounds of my past dictate my future. That is a story we should be scared of. Friends, stories are powerful, and the story that you're telling about yourself is powerful. If you're telling yourself that your story is one of mediocrity and of failure and of rejection, and that is not going to take you anywhere. But the story you should be telling yourself, if you are in a tough time right now, is this is the beginning. This is where we build from. This is where, everything starts from this base level. And maybe it's hard, but this hardness that's happening in your life, this trial, this challenge, that is developing you for what's next. It is. It truly is. And so that you can be confident because you're trying something hard. And when you do break through, man, there's nothing that builds confidence like that. And that's what I experienced too, is for so many years, making videos on YouTube, 100 views, 200 views, 10 views, doing it for so many years, and then eventually finally breaking through. And honestly, all my confidence was not in the YouTube channel. It was in who God was creating me to be in the midst of that faithfulness and pushing through in the midst of trial. That I knew I could push through with God's help, regardless if I got success that year or the next year or the year after that, or if it all fell apart. I knew I could be confident because God is developing me. This takes me right into our last point. Where do we get our confidence? It is grounded in our identity. We need to talk about a micro identity and a macro identity. As Christians, we have this macro identity of children of God. That is our macro identity, that we are saved, that we are forgiven, that we are loved, that we are accepted. This gives us the confidence and security to pursue our mission despite rejection and failure, because we already have security and significance in God and who He says we are. So we need to understand at the end of the day, that is where our primary confidence should come from, is that macro identity. What I've also come to understand recently is this idea of micro identity. You see, within our lives, we have a lot of different little identities, things that are smaller than our identity in Christ or being a disciple of His or a child of His, because that's the biggest thing. That is the primary thing that should consume our life. But then we have a lot of these smaller identities. For me, maybe that is a YouTuber or a husband or a son or a creative. Now, from a practical perspective, when you have a lot of these different little identities, athlete or artist or things like that, right? When you have a lot of these smaller identities, when all of a sudden one of them is shaken a little bit, or you encounter rejection or failure in one of the areas, your overall identity, in terms of the micro identity, isn't shaken. Because you have all these other fallbacks. You diversify your identity. And so, hey, you enter a sports competition. You have this identity that you're an athlete. That's one of your micro identities. And you go to some tournament, but your team loses or you perform really badly. Is your confidence shaken? Well, maybe in that one area it's shaken a little bit. But overall, because you've diversified your identity, you're okay, you're fine. But think about if you were to only identify with one of those things, right? I'm only an athlete. That's my primary micro identity. Yeah, I know I'm a child of God, but I am an athlete. But then you fail and you perform really badly in that athletic endeavor, and now your identity is totally shaken. Yes, you can learn things from that, and yes, you should. And maybe that the hardship of having that identity shaken will actually teach you something in the long run, and I'm sure it will. But that's why I think you should diversify your identity. Know that you're not just one of these things, and you're not any of these things that you do, really, because we should be going back to that macro identity. That's where we look to. I'm a child of God, and through God's power and presence in my life, He has enabled me to do a lot of these different things in my life, and I don't need to cling on to them for my security. No, I can say I'm an artist, I can say I'm an athlete, I can say I'm a creative or a YouTuber, and I don't need to put my full hope or security or identity in these things. It's not wrong to be excellent in them, but that's not where I find my primary peace. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, because I'm putting out new videos like this all the time. I'd encourage you to pass this video on to a friend of yours that you think might benefit from this particular topic. And until next time, keep pursuing the mission.